Okay, this is the Tuesday after Labor Day. Just finished up with work. This is an overall shot of my 150-gallon African cichlid tank, male peacock haplochromis tank. There behind the tank is the artificial plant I was telling you about that I was going to put in. And the tank is at a 45-degree angle to the walls so I can get behind it. The cabinet was just too small to put all the equipment that I have in there. What you're looking at is the aquascape that I purchased from one of my fish stores here. He basically gave it to me. It was a piece of aquascape that he didn't buy, didn't really want it. It was always in his way. It floated and it rolled, and he knew it was an issue. But something like this mounted on a piece of plywood is very, very expensive, and he basically just gave it to me. So, get to know your fish store guys, especially the ones that have driftwood, and when something like this comes in, just ask, He didn't price it, he just had it on the floor. He referenced that it was getting in his way, and he basically gave it to me for what I paid for this thing. So I took it home. I had to cut about 2 feet of it off. The rest of it is in my 55-gallon tank, so if you want to look at that one, it's on one of my other videos on YouTube. So anyway, it came from South Georgia, from the Swanee River. This tree was probably in the order of 2.5 to 3 feet, maybe in diameter, at the where this trunk piece was taken. So I mean, who knows how big it was or how old this thing was. Apparently some guy up there just jumps in the river with flashlight looking for this type of driftwood, looking to sell it to people. And I understand that he sold it to the aquarium guy for about $150 wholesale. So you can imagine what it would have been retail. And that's not even mounted. That's just raw piece of wood. So anyway, a little bit more aquascaping. You see my fake bamboo and how it's working out with my real lucky bamboo. It's kind of hard to tell the difference between the two, but one's real. The one on the left and the one on the right is the fake stuff. But Mike and my Honda Fit had this in his tank. It looked really good. And also Robbo from Canada had this in his tank, in his 75, and I thought it looked really good in both of those tanks. And you can see the fish. They're really enjoying the bamboo in there. Let's see, we've got on the foreground, we got the albino sunshine peacock, one of my favorite fish. We've got the OB peacock, he's in there. The regal blue really likes this thing, although it didn't look like he's in it right now. That's the regal blue, at the bottom of the structure there. Some of the new entries in the tank this past weekend. The dolphin. You see Mr. Sunshine Benga, he's looking good. He's been in the tank about 2 weeks. Really starting to flame up. This is a fish I pulled out of a tank the other day. I think it's a tangerine tiger hap. Oh, and of course the Victorians. Got a very good video I'm going to post on YouTube about this Victorian fighting my Taiwan reef. It was a fight over territory and just an incredible battle. There they are. That's another Victorian. I bought 3 Victorians this weekend, and I put one of my smaller Victorians from my 120 in here. So I've got 4 Victorian haps in this tank right now. Love these fish. They are my favorite. There's no question about it. Most of these are extinct in the wild, of course, as we know. And they all look somewhat similar, and that's because 12,000 years ago, Lake Victoria was a dry hole during the Ice Age. And when the Ice Age ended it filled up with water, and so these fish evolved. That's one of my smaller ones right there, smaller Victorian, known as a Christmas cichlid. He's green and red. Then they're very similar in color because the evolutionary gene pool is only 12,000 years old. All these fish came from one fish, and don't want to get into a religious debate, but if you believe in evolution, these fish came from one fish, or a couple of fish perhaps, and so they're very similar in color, even though they are completely different species. That's my bicolor. I bought a red jake this weekend, a mature red jake. He's looking mighty fine. And this is a little red jake that all of a sudden showed up in the tank. Didn't remember putting him in there, but he was a very early purchase. I got him from Petland, I think. The smaller fish I got from some of the box stores. Oh, that's my deepwater hap. When he colors up, he's going to be a nice shade of blue. Really a beautiful fish. Oh, that's my OB, my pink OB. And my redfin borlei. Beautiful, beautiful fish. Another Victorian swam by. My Taiwan reef was being a bad fish. I was about ready to throw him out of here, but he's seemed to have gotten with the program. Added a few fish, and I think his aggression went away, at least for the time being. That's my Mangano hybrid. Got him for free from Petland in one of their tanks. They were running a special and bought a fish for like $10 and got this guy for free. They have other specials that they run 50% off of fish that are below $10. You know, it's hard to find peacocks and things like that in there, but you never know. So I check them once a week just to see what they have. I picked up a Victorian female one time in their Mbuna tank. So if you're in Mbunas, I would suggest to go to a place like that. They've got a nice Mbuna tank, and they've got pretty good prices for pretty big fish, if you're into that. What I'm really collecting these days are Tropheus, which I have a 55-gallon set up next door, and this particular tank, which is an all-male, for the most part, hap peacock tank. And I got a couple of hybrids in here that I bought, but you know, they were less expensive and kind of fills out the tank. I'm getting close to where I want to be with this tank. I still have a few that I want to get, but from here on out I want to be very particular about the fish that I pull in here. That's one of my little red shoulders that I got the other day. I'm looking for a dragon blood. I lost a dragon blood this weekend, and he was a small little guy, but he was halfway decent. He really was. You may have seen him on other videos, but I lost him. So that's my Xerox that was really getting harassed this weekend, but he seems to be doing okay now. And this fish here, I'm not sure what he is. He's a dark blue with some yellow on him, and I'm not sure. He could be the same fish. He could be a Xerox, but I don't think so. That was Taiwan, chasing the Xerox again. It's his favorite fish to hassle. That's my Bukonodo. Hope he's doing okay. He's been pretty quiet today. The tank is looking good. Put the 24-watt UV sterilizer in this weekend, and the water has cleared up a little bit. I think it was clear before. I did a water change this weekend, and I think everything's about the same. But I added some new fish, so I might cloud it up some. I moved a few rocks around. This particular rock in the middle, I'm using it to hold down my air stone, is a piece of coral that I got out of a saltwater tank. A friend of mine knew of a saltwater guy that was getting out of the hobby, and so he gave me just a bunch of saltwater equipment, some of which is in this tank. Some of my water movers are from this guy, but that's the only piece of coral that I ended up picking up. There was another piece that they just threw on the ground. I can't believe it, but I would have loved to have picked it up, but I didn't get a chance to. But that's what I'm running into a lot lately. You know, going to the fish store, you run into people that are really getting out of the saltwater hobby, and a lot going into the freshwater hobby. So, you know, there's some opportunities out there to get some saltwater tanks. This particular tank I got from a guy that was going to the Navy. This is 150 gallon, but he raised Chauffrontoses apparently in this tank, is what he was into. I think at first he was into predator fish, but he got out of that. Most of the young guys get into that early and then kind of move on, but you know, and some of the people I run into at some of these fish stores, even the specialty shops, I mean, they know very little about fish. You know, they don't read, they don't watch YouTube, they don't, you know, study the hobby. And I just see them making just, you know, expensive mistakes. You know, buying brand new tanks, brand new equipment, when, you know, there's a much more sustainable way to get into the hobby, in my opinion, through wise purchases on Craigslist. And I talked about that in one of my last videos. If you want to take a look at that, I talked a lot about that. And also going to other fish stores, and, you know, I go to 4 or 5 of them on a regular basis and just see what's going on. I would never have gotten all these fish if I'd just gone to one shop. Anyway, we're about 12 minutes on the video, so I'm going to go ahead and cast off. So if you like the video, you want to see more about what's going on with this tank or anything else that I'm doing, drop me a comment, subscribe. I would appreciate it. Let me know what you think. Thank you very much. Over and out.